How does spirituality affect our mental health? How do those two relate? If someone is in a good place spiritually, does that mean they should also be in a good place mentally? Does spiritual health protect you from mental struggles? My name is Mark Brower, and this YouTube channel is devoted to this very issue, our mental well-being, and how our faith, our spirituality affect and interact with our mental health. My goal is to provide the latest insights about spirituality, healthy spirituality, and mental health issues, especially focusing on addiction, anxiety, and depression. So first, let's get clear about our terms. What do we mean by spirituality or spiritual health? What do we mean by mental health, mental well-being? Since these are so foundational to what this YouTube channel is about, let's get some clarity on terms. So first, what do I mean by mental health? How are we going to think about mental health and mental well-being? Let's start with a dictionary definition. The Webster's Dictionary defines mental health as the condition of being sound mentally and emotionally that's characterized by the absence of mental illness and by adequate adjustment. Now, this adequate adjustment is especially reflected in three things: feeling comfortable about oneself, having positive feelings about others, and having the ability to meet the demands of daily life. Now notice, mental health involves being free of mental illness, mental disorders, but it's more than that. The WHO wants to emphasize, in their definition of this, emphasize that mental health is not simply about the absence of mental illness. It's about these other things, these positive things, as were mentioned in that definition. Feeling comfortable or feeling at peace with yourself, being able to relate in a healthy way with other people, and then finally having the ability to just deal with, to cope with the challenges of life. Well, the basic idea behind this channel, kind of our bottom line philosophy, our bedrock philosophy, is that it's really hard to maintain mental health, mental well-being, if we're not in a good place spiritually. Spiritual health and mental health are closely linked. Healthy spirituality is a really significant ingredient to being able to maintain healthy mental life, mental well-being. Now, the terms spiritual and spirituality have become kind of confused in our culture in the last couple of generations because they've really become associated with this comparison or contrast. We talk about being spiritual but not religious. I like what Marilyn Robinson has to say about this. She says the problem with the term spirituality is that its meaning has been distorted for us by hearing the word used in the phrase spiritual but not religious. This connection has fogged up our idea, our understanding of spirituality. It has led us to have an almost negative connotation by, in a very real way, defining what it is by what it is not. It's not religion, and the problem also is that we think we know what religion is, but religion means a lot of different things to different people too. So how about this as a basic framework or a basic way to understand spirituality? Spirituality is about having a connection to, an awareness of, an appreciation for something that's larger than us, something that's beyond, something that's transcendent. It's about our connection with, our union with something that is beyond. In Christian theology, our focus is on being connected to God, to be in union with God through Jesus Christ. Spirituality involves being connected to, or it embraces our connection to other people, to a purpose larger than ourselves. It really helps us answer the ultimate questions about why are we here, which also has to do with something that's bigger and beyond ourselves. The great sociologist Robert Bellah says that religion is about our awareness of an alternate reality. That God, something greater than ourselves. But so then spirituality, with that understanding, spirituality is about our connection to or union with that alternate reality. So if that's what spirituality is, then healthy spirituality is about having a good connection, a meaningful connection with something bigger than us, something beyond us. In fact, another way of thinking about what spirituality is to think of the opposite of spirituality, which would be self-absorption. And as opposed to being self-absorbed, spirituality is what allows us to be other, to have the awareness of, appreciation for, connection with things larger than ourselves. So I want to emphasize again, the bottom line in my way of understanding these things and what this channel is going to be about is that having a healthy experience, healthy practice around our spiritual life is essential for maintaining healthy mental well-being. So the idea that a person can be mentally well, can be in a good place mentally, can be free from some of the severe anxiety and mental distress that happens a lot, or that we're seeing a lot in our society, the idea that we can be in a good place mentally without having a meaningful spiritual life, that's a unique, modern, reductionist mindset. I would say that throughout recorded history, it's almost been a universal understanding of this connection between spiritual well-being and mental well-being. If you don't understand your place in the world, if you don't have an appreciation for power greater than yourself and connection with that power, you're going to struggle with finding meaning and purpose in this existence. You're going to struggle with anxiety about what might happen down the line to you. And you're going to have a hard time dealing with the setbacks and problems and hassles and genuine trauma and suffering that happens in life. So consequently, trying to fix mental health struggles without touching on these deeper issues of spiritual connection, trying to deal with mental health issues in a kind of a reductionist, medical, maybe even just focused on drug interventions, trying to do it that way, is going to have mixed success at best. And that's exactly what we're finding today. There's something that we're missing here. And I believe that missing key, that essential key, has to do with being in a good place spiritually and how that affects us mentally. But we need to add here that having spiritual health is no guarantee of also having mental health. We're complex people. Inevitably, throughout our lives, we're going to encounter trauma and struggle. Some of us might have physical conditions that affect us mentally. And beyond this, we live in a profoundly distressing environment. Our culture, the environment that we're in, politically, socially, many of us in our work environments, our school environments, are just profoundly unhealthy. I love how Jiddu Krishnamurti put it this way. He said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And that's what we have. We are driven, we are divided, we're materialistic, we're lonely. And so we have a society that is marked by high rates of addiction and anxiety and depression and loneliness and high suicide rates. And this is the natural consequence of being in this world. And even if you have a strong faith, if you have a healthy spirituality, we are affected by this world, and we have to find ways of putting high degree of attention and intention on these positive, strengthening habits in our spiritual life that enable us to deal with the onslaught of challenges that we have to our mental well-being. Now, I suppose it goes without saying, but we do need to acknowledge it here, that religious involvement does not necessarily mean we're going to have spiritual health or spiritual well-being. Some religious environments are more damaging than helpful. And even if there are religious environments that really do help and encourage and strengthen people in their spiritual connection with God, it's one thing to be a part of those, and it's one thing to hear about and to be encouraged to take steps in a certain direction. We can be in places where that is talked about, but we need to put it into place. We need to put it into practice ourselves. And so just going and participating in certain environments isn't necessarily going to reshape us or transform us into healthy spiritual beings unless we and until we take the time and make the time and take the energy to engage in the things that we need to do. So if we're going to be counterculturally happy and well-adjusted and stress-free, then we need to be counterculturally focused on and engaged in healthy spiritual habits. Healthy spirituality leads to and is a bedrock of healthy mental life and mental well-being, but it's not magic. There's a process that we go through, and that's what this video channel is all about.